let's look at the scope of how bad a problem could get, where it might first start to reveal itself, and then how it might escalate or get out of control, and the various points in that terrible journey, I guess, that could happen.
Well, for example, they could come to your door. Let me give you a real life example, okay. What I call the pizza man case. Okay. They came, this man owned 3 pizzerias. He was an immigrant to Canada, he worked very hard, and he was able to start making some money. One day, 2 Canada revenue agents appeared at the door of one of his pizzerias and asked, who owns this pizzeria? They told him, they called him, he invited them to, he figured, well, he better talk to them. So he invited them to his house, they started talking. Then the questions got more detailed, and he said, well, look, I have hardly any education. Speak to my accountant and my lawyer. Now, unfortunately, the lawyer he referred them to was a civil litigation lawyer. He didn't know anything about taxes. Smart person, but knew nothing about taxes. The chartered the chartered accountant should have known something about taxes, but the 2 of them sat down with the Canada revenue agents and started giving all kinds of information. Why? Because they thought that there would never be a criminal prosecution. What's even worse is that when one of the tax agents revealed himself as a criminal investigator, they still continued giving him information. Again, on the mistaken assumption, oh, well, no, they're not going to prosecute him. But they did prosecute him, and that's when we got the case. We solved it, we got him off. But the thing is, here are people that are not stupid, that you know, who can be misled. And I'm not saying that the Canada Revenue Agency did anything wrong. They didn't, because the first question I asked the lawyer, I said, well, did you get anything in writing that they weren't going to prosecute your client? He said, no, but he said, I'm not stupid. He said, there was every intimation. I said, yeah, but you're a lawyer. You're supposed to know. Well, they did prosecute. Lucky I was able to get them off in a tax evasion case in criminal court. I was able to get them off.
That's a classic case of people dabbling, professionals dabbling in this field. Yeah. And there's so many of them. Mm-hmm.
And they all say they know what they're doing, but unless you do this all the time, you can't keep up to date. There's so many different permutations and combinations. You got to do it all the time.
Patty, you've got to combine the law with the bureaucratic knowledge. Mm-hmm. That is so important to combine those 2. Then you have effective weapons to throw at them.
And is that what
That's what we do.
Tell us a bit about how your firm is able to do that.
The accounting would only come in when there's accounting analysis, just numbers. You know, like Cratchit and Scrooge. All he did was numbers, right? That's what they're supposed to do. And the CA audits, they're really not supposed to go beyond that, all right? So what we do is that we like I said, we combine bureaucratic insight, right? Regulations, rules, policy. You know, when some people say all we do is VDP, the Voluntary Disclosure Program, well, we bring it up a step beyond that. We combine it with the law. We try to make the charter an effective weapon against them. You're right against self-incrimination, the possibility of entrapment. These are all things that can be brought up before a judge if they ever decide to welsh on a deal, which they can, even if they have a policy. Remember, policy can be torn up the next day.
And it's the same thing on the equity side. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's the same thing on the equity side. They can say, no, go away, we're not doing anything. Well, we'll hammer at them. We'll defend and protect our client because that's our mandate. And believe me, when I can do a good job for a client, I feel satisfaction. I'm happy that I can help the client. I've done something that
protected them.
I've protected them
from what the tax man could do, which is what we saw happen.
Our job as lawyers is to act in a situation where there's absolutely no conflict. We do everything for the client. We live and breathe the client. We have to do everything we're able to do till we drop, really, for the client. Other professions don't have that.